苏西，多谢你。我真的非常高兴能够跟你和我所有的朋友们今天在一起。可是我现在应该说，班门弄斧，关公面前耍大刀。Or as Winston Churchill used to say, there's some things you just never do in life. You never kiss someone who's falling away from you, and you never climb a mountain that is leaning toward you, and you never speak to a group that is a whole lot smarter than you and knows a whole lot more about the subject matter than you do. I'm honored to be here in Tzu Chi for your hospitality and your friendship. I'm very, very grateful. I'm also delighted to be here with Mary Kay, my wife, with whom I lived in Tianmu back in the 1980s. And because of her volunteer work at the Tianzhujiao in Tianmu, volunteering with the orphans that were there, we somehow got this idea that bringing in someone who needed a life and a little bit of hope into our own family was a good thing to do. And that led to our daughter, who is here today, Gracie May, coming into our family many years later. But the seeds were planted right in Tianmu, right at the Tianzhujiaotang. And we're very, very grateful for the way in which that provided inspiration and a sense of goodness about humanity and ways in which you can make communities and lives better. Now, Gracie, 她就是扬州人。中国话有一句话说：“扬州出美女。”你看她就知道了，是对不对 ？She's very famous in Yangzhou, much more famous than the former U.S. ambassador. In fact, so famous was Gracie that they put her face on a stamp in China. And I said, Gracie, you don't know how lucky you are, how rare that is. You have to die, usually, for the most part, before you're put on a stamp. And here she was, at a very, very young age. Well, Tzu Chi mentioned that I've had the great fortune of intersecting during my life with Taiwan over and over again. And it's quite true. And I go back to 1979, 1979年, when I first came. A much different Taiwan. It was a tough time for all the reasons that everybody in this room is familiar with. There were no guarantees that the U.S. and Taiwan would be able to move forward in a productive, successful way, as we have seen since then. But because of leadership on both sides, different parties, a common view of security and stability, the United States and Taiwan have flourished in 1979. I again lived here in 1987. 1987年, Mary Kay and I were living in Tianmu. And almost seemingly overnight, martial law was lifted. 25年以前. The press was freed up. Opposition political parties started to flourish. I was here on the streets watching it all play out. At the time I was doing business, and it was a remarkable transformation that I was able to witness and compare and contrast to what I had seen in 1979. Do I know my way around Taipei? Yes, I know my way around Taipei. Last night at the Foreign Ministry, what did they give me to eat? They gave me 臭豆腐。因为我就是告诉他们，我最喜欢吃的东西就是臭豆腐。他们不相信我的话。But they brought me some 臭豆腐, and it was the best that I'd had in a long while. You put a little 辣椒放在上面，还有旁边有泡菜，就非常好吃，非常好吃。But I have lived in 内湖、中山、永和、中和、三重、板桥、花莲，还有花莲过去有一个叫做玉里， 我很久以前就是坐那个火车，就是在那个花莲开始，一直到那个玉，那个时候玉里就是比较乡下的一个地方，有很好的这个西瓜，the best in the world, a wonderful place, and my memories are clear and positive about all of that which I experienced. And then in 2001, as Suchi mentioned, I had the opportunity of serving as United States Trade Ambassador when we worked on China and Taiwan's accession to the WTO, being in Doha, Qatar, November of 2001 for that historic period. And I was reminded at dinner last night as I was seated next to Dr. Lai, who was very critical at the time, and we worked closely, along with Jeff Bader, another good friend of mine, and it worked. And history was made by the work of some very, very insightful and visionary leaders, again, on all sides. And then in 2002, we started the TIFA process, Trade Investment Framework Agreement. There's more to do. There's more to do on beef. There's more to do on a TIFA. There's more to do, as I said, running for president of the United States, on a free trade agreement. Our vision should be big. It should be bold about what two economies based on freedom can achieve. But what I'm reminded of when I come back, because I haven't been back in 13 years, I'm reminded of the strengths that you have in Taiwan. And they're very clear for anyone who wants to come and compare and contrast as I have. Number one is people. Your people are friendly, smart, industrious, and committed. And everywhere I go, I am very impressed by the power and the strength of people living in a free society. And when you achieve that, there's no stopping. It's only up to your imagination and creativity about where you go. And number two is your commitment to values, which I think says more about you than anything else. Because what is most important about the United States? It's not our military, although our military is pretty strong. It isn't necessarily our economy, which is the largest in the world, still a quarter of the world's GDP. It's our values, a commitment to liberty, to democracy, to human rights, and to free markets. And when you can combine the energy and intelligence of a population with values, nothing could stop you. You've got it all. So when I hear about the challenges, every country has challenges these days. Every country. There's a period of insecurity that has enveloped the world. 不管你在欧洲，或者是美国，或者是中国大陆，或者台湾，there's a sense of insecurity. But then you have to take a moment and look at the gains that have been made and say, but we have the most important things you need for an economy to flourish. We have good people. We have strong institutions of education. And we have values that leave the future open in whatever direction we want to take it.